போடு.
But he is not there
ஓம்
anyway.
பார்த்தாய பிரதிபோதிதாம் பகவதா நாராயணேன ஸ்வயம் व्यासेन क्रदिता पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणि भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनी अम्ब त्वामनुसन्ततामि भगवद्गीते भगवद्वेषिणी. Next week, Kumar, I'm going to join Panna.
This call cannot be recorded.
We are here in this is addressed.
No, this is Appa is recording in voice recorder. Okay.
Yeah.
This is addressed to the one who believes that Atma. That is where we have to start.
Yeah.
This is addressed to the one who believes that Atma survives death, but is not identical with Aishvara and is therefore a samsari.
What is addressed as Pandela?
This includes all dualists, the Vishishta Advaitis, the Dvaitis. நீங்கள் எல்லாரும் இது மியூட் பண்ணிடுங்க, இல்லைன்னா இப்போ கூட பேசுங்க.
How can Swami
எக்கோ
I
பேசுறச்சா.
have to put it.
Therefore, this includes all dualists, the Vishishta Advaitis, the Dvaitis like Hare Krishnas, Christians and all others who believe in the existence of a deity other than themselves and the survival of the soul after death. Anyone who does not accept Ishvara as Atma will end up as dualist, including the Buddhist. The Sunyavadin. Sunyavadin. His basis for everything. Swamiji, you can unmute for speaking.
So, see, why he says Sunyavadin in the sense, Buddhists there are many, the Vijnanavadi is there, Shanika Vijnanavadi and then Sunyavadi. So, he says, includes Sunyavadin also, he is supposed to be closest to Advaitin, but even that is a Dvaitin because it does not have Satyam. Without Satya, Mithya alone is everything, means it doesn't, that is why their problem is, everything is Mithya, but there is no Satyam. So what they do is that just practice ahimsa, be helpful to society. That means society is Satyam for them, because there is no other Satya. Even though they say everything is Mithya, they have no agenda, but still they are obliged to serve the society, ahimsa, be helpful, because they don't have Satyam. See, they have not discovered the Satyam, that is why the problem is, so there is no point. Without discovering Satyam, there is no Mithya. So that means everything is real. That means dualist only. That's what he says. Yeah.
Anyone who does not accept Ishvara as Atma will end up as a dualist. We have read that. His basis for everything is non-existence, sunyata, which cannot be established, and thus everything which he claims as mithya becomes satya. The ontological status of mithya requires having a basis upon which it is independent. If the world that we experience is mithya and the underlying truth is said to be shunya, which cannot be established, there is no basis on which the mithya is dependent, and thus there is no mithya. The world remains exactly as perceived, dualistic, that is pluralistic.
Yeah, basically I tell you the major issue is that I am the awareful being is something which cannot be digested by people. They somehow feel how without objectifying anything you can say this is Satyam. Yes, you cannot say this is Satyam if you cannot objectify. But you can say I am Satyam for the simple reason, for me to know myself, I don't have to have any other evidence. I don't have to objectify. So that is why Swamiji always used to say, yes, I am not objectified, but I need not be objectified. Because I know, even when you get up from sleep also, if you are there, are you there? If somebody asks, you are going to say very much, I am there. I was sleeping like a dog or was dead. But I was there very much. So, for my being self-evident, I don't need objectification. This part of it is not assimilated as understanding. That is the problem of all the atheists, including the Sunyavadins and Vijnanavadins and all. Even though they are saying all that is okay, everything is in the mind only. That's also, we also say that everything is in the mind, everything is shanikam, vritti, everything keeps going continuously. And everything, all that you objectify, the whole world, my own body, mind, senses, my thoughts, emotions, other perceptions, everything, even the Panchabhuta, everything is only in the thought form, continuous vritti changing. So it is, naturally it is not Satyam, that is fine. But then what is Satyam? The person who negates all these things as Vidya, continuously changing, there should be a changeless. Only a changeless can see the changing and say it is changing. So the changeless Satyam is you. That part of it is not, it needs a lot of grace. Swamiji used to say, to only in our, that is why, as I said some time back, Advaitam includes everything. Whatever, whomsoever wants to say anything that is there about like a yana, 5 blind people are seeing yana, an elephant. One fellow looks like, touches and says it is like a pillar. Another fellow touches the ear of the elephant and says it is like moram. So all of them are not wrong, they are right, but they don't have the whole view. So the person who is not blind will be able to say, hey, you are right, but the whole view is like this. This is the elephant, including all put together all these things. That is a problem with all the things who are not having that whole view. Whole view is where in only the limitless being, limitless desa kala vastu aparichinnam, timeless, spaceless, objectless being alone. That understanding and assimilation alone can help you to see in perspective all that is happening outside. Whatever that is happening, yes, it's all changing, it has its own limitation. It comes and goes, comes and goes. It is available for transaction. It is available for utility. There is an order there also. There is a, okay, if you do this, it will happen. If you do this, this will happen. This order also is there. Just because there is an order, just because there is a niyati, connecting one piece to another piece, it doesn't mean it is changing. That is why you are able to connect, you are able to say that, what do you call, it is subject to modification. It starts, it grows, it plateaus, it declines, and then it gets destroyed. That change is possible only in the object situation. Object situation meaning that has time-bound, space-bound existence. It has got a frame in which you can see, this is a frame, and this is X, this is Y. This is Akasham, this is Vayu, this is tree, this is sun, this is moon, etc. Because all of them are within a frame. But this side sun doesn't exist, that side sun doesn't exist. So that is why you are able to see sun. So like that, everything is, you are able to put a frame because it is time bound, space bound, and object, and that is why you call it an object. Causality is there. But who can see that? A person who is not changing, is changeless all the time, be able to observe each change. So the changeless you, the awareness being, the desa kala vastu aparichinnam being is the reality. It is Advaitam. Advaitam because it cannot be, it does not have an avayava, it does not have a time or space boundary. So naturally it cannot be, it is not subject to modification. So that is you, that is a being, and everything else changes. This is the reality. This is the thing. This is the reality of Satyam and Vidya. You are the Satyam, everything else is Vidya. Vidya meaning not available for transaction. It is available for transaction, but at the same time not real as you, the changeless. So changeless you, the Ishvara Swarupa, your Swarupa. Because Ishvara Swarupa is what? We say omniscient, omnipotent, all powerful, all Shakti, timeless, spaceless. Again, Ishvara, the definition of Ishvara is infallible, meaning it is not bound by time or space, it is not bound by object. So that is how we have defined Ishvara. The Ishvara's definition is the changeless being. That is how we want to be, because that is our own freedom. That is our own freedom we are expressing in the form of a murti and say it is everything. No, that is the beauty. The oneness between you and Ishvara is purely in terms of cognitive understanding of the whole thing, and only you are capable of that. Because you have got because there is a reason for that, because there is a faculty wherein you are able to have that freedom, that we can easily see it. I have always discussed. Kartum shakyam akartam kartum shakyam anyatava kartum shakyam. You seem to have a total freedom of known plus unknown. I know what I know. I know what I don't know also. So that means the knowledge is total. Known plus unknown. Freedom. I am able to do. I am able to keep. I am able to throw. I am able to do it differently. No other Jantu has that freedom. So if you look at all these things one by one, you feel that there is 100% the freedom and the freedom that Vilasha to be full all the time, irrespective of whatever I do, whatever I achieve. All this is symptomatic of our basic nature being fullness. So that fullness can happen only if you are changeless. Changing cannot have fullness because the very fact it is changing means it was not there before, it will not be there later. So that means it is restricted, it is time bound, space bound. So it cannot be full. So we cannot aspire to be full and then say, I have to be objectified. If you objectify, you are not full. You cannot be, need not be objectified. Fortunately, I know. Right now, all of us know whether you exist or not. Yes, I exist. What is your boundary? No. I don't have any boundary because I am able to see my body, my mind, my senses, emotions, all my, even the fears, everything I am able to see. That being which sees all this changing around me is the reality. That is precisely what, and that is the Satyam. That is the Satyam, everything else is Mithya. And the Sambandha between the two is, Shastra says, Adhyasena Sambandha. Adhyasena Sambandhana as though. There is no real Sambandha. But Adhyasa comes, Adhyasena Sambandha. So, once you detect that, Adhyasa meaning, once you understand that this is a reality, there is no real connection, but it appears, then that doesn't have to change. Whatever you are transacting can continue. So without affecting any change in anything, once you understand by discerning, that is why it is understanding. Once you understand Satyam and Vidya, Shastra, that's it. That is precisely the problem. We don't have to say that world doesn't exist. No, world exists for transaction purpose, transactional. Whereas reality is not transactable. That is all we have to understand. That is precisely what he is trying to say. In all this, every other philosophy, it's called philosophy because it's a point of view. It doesn't have the whole view. It is not subscribed by the Shastra also, but still people keep constructing a philosophy out of it, and they make a religion out of it, and they have, once you have a religion, it has following, then you have to fall within that frame of the religion. Whatever it does, you have to accept. Also, it stunts your thinking. You cannot think beyond that, beyond what the religion says. So all these problems have started because of this lack of understanding. That's what he says. Yeah, carry on.
Swamiji, really this Sunya, what does it mean?
Sunya means, because as I was explaining, everything what you transact, is all transacted where? It's all in the mind. First you transact in the mind. And even suppose I see you, I don't see you. I see the light falls on you, that light comes to my retina. The retina forms an image, and the mind calls the image of what I saw Krishna Kumar yesterday is the same Krishna Kumar today. It tells. And then I say I am talking to Krishna Kumar, I am seeing Krishna Kumar. You are seeing just a light, that's all. But purely because of memory and samskara and empiricality in the sense, the image that is carrying the name of Krishna Kumar is the same image that I am talking to today. So there is some empiricality and there is some reproducibility, there is some predictability. All these things give a feeling that I am seeing you. No, I am seeing only light. Just light. Each one of us is seeing only light. Even that seeing also is because the faculty of eye can only see. Ears cannot see. Ears can only hear. So I think the image I see is Krishna Kumar. Actually, the voice I hear also of Krishna Kumar, that's also matched. The voice, everything. Then only I can understand it is Krishna Kumar, otherwise I cannot understand. So, it is all, the faculty, each faculty is nothing but light of consciousness, which I have always been telling. One pot, you put a light, and there are 5 holes, 5 apertures. The 5 apertures seem to tell me there are 5 beams of light. There is no 5 beam of light. There is only one light which is inside, Atma, the conscious being. Which, the problem with the Sunyavadi is, he recognizes that everything is thought and everything is light only. But he says, finally he says that light is Sunyam because it is not, I am not able to objectify it. He says, there is no object. Sunyam means no object, it is void. So everything is void, whatever transaction we think is all Vidya only, continuously changing. It's all void. So there is no Satyam in life. Everything is only Vidya. So they renounce everything. Okay, then renounce everything and then what you do? How to transact? Transact because people are unhappy. Help them. Be good to people. Dharmam. Then for them they hold on to Dharma. They say be good to people. That's all. Their whole religion is nothing but being good to people. Do unto others as you would like. Dharma matrix. Be good to people. That's it. Ahimsa paramo dharma. That is, the dharma part of it is fine. Nothing wrong in that. But their understanding is sunya. Sunya means nothing. Nothing exists. Whereas we say, yes, correct, what you say is true. Everything is continuously changing. Only thought form, only vritti only. But there is a person who negates all these things behind this. The being. That I am there. Swami always used to say, Kottapalli Mari, nee irukka eppadi illenu solla mudiyum. How can you deny yourself and say, and make a philosophy out of it and making people follow you? And Anta Parambara, you will say. You that you are blind is okay, but you make others also blind. So that's all very, in the sense, people don't give very serious. That is why assimilation, inquiry, self-inquiry is all very important. You must. It should not be any pramana should not contradict other pramanas. Should not contradict logic. Here, when I say I am there, how can I say I am Shunya? Shunya cannot talk. No, the talk is only Vidya, that's fine. But who is behind this talk? I is there. So you cannot deny yourself and say and make a religion out of it. That's the problem with Sunyavada. But he is very close in the sense, he has come, he has Vidya-fied everything. In the sense, everything is Vidya, that's fine. But you are Satyam. That is precisely what is missing. That's what he says here. Which he claims as Mithya becomes Satya because he has not discovered Satya. Sunyata, in the sense, what is Sunyata? In the sense, you deny everything, Mithya, and at the basis there is nothing. That means what? Whatever you transact is only what you have in life. That means you have to transact with Mithya, there is no choice, without any sense of fulfillment. So, for you to be fulfilled, you have to deny yourself totally, you have to go, you have to become non-existent. Then the non-existent person who is Sunyata and he is full, in what way is going to help others? He will become non-existent. So that's all a problem. In the sense, there is logically it doesn't fit in. The sense, it denies other pramana, it contradicts other pramana. That is where the problem with Sunyavadi is. Yeah.
To prove that Atma is a samsari, one has to prove that even though mortality and so on are superimposed upon Atma due to avidya, sukha dukkha are intrinsic properties of the knower. Otherwise, Atma will be free from qualities and identical with the Swarupa of Ishvara. As Shankara pointed out, no reason can be advanced for saying that the sense of mortality is superimposed upon Atma, while Sukha Dukkha, etc., or not. Further, Sukha Dukkha also are not intrinsic to Atma because if they were, they could not be given up or assumed. And since they are opposites, they cannot reside in the same locus. It is like saying, remaining, he goes, Tishtan Gachati.
Either you remain or you go.
Hmm? Either he remains or he goes out, but he cannot simultaneously be doing both. Similarly, Sukha and Dukkha are opposed to each other, and when Sukha is there, Dukkha is not there. Is not. Since when one is there, the other is not, they come and go. This being so, they cannot be intrinsic to Atma because what is intrinsic cannot be given up. Sukha and Dukkha keep changing and therefore Atma is free from both. Samsara also implies Punarjanma, including going to heaven. This samsara, characterized by doership and enjoyership, is superimposed upon the knower whenever there is a superimposition. Wherever there is a superimposition, there is avidya unless it is deliberate. In a crystal, you can invoke the Lord, or on a flag, you can superimpose a entire constitution deliberately. Therefore, it is necessary to say that this superimposition is due to ignorance. Because it's a mere superimposition, there is no change in Atma. It is the same Chaitanya, just as the sky that we see as colored does not become colored at all.
In all sorry, in all kshetras, Ishvara exists in the form of kshetrajna. On the basis of this conclusion, Shankara makes a further statement. This being so, in all the kshetra, it is Bhagavan, Ishvara, that exists in the form of kshetrajna. The Pratyagatma is not separate from Ishvara, who is the cause of creation, Jagat Karana, because the implied meaning of kshetrajna and the implied meaning of Ishvara is one, Param Brahma. Shankara says there is not even a whiff, Gandhamatra of samsara for Ishvara, who happens to be kshetrajna. This is a very beautiful expression. Suppose you live in a palatial building that is in the midst of a slum. Even though your house is spotless, the order of the slum will pervade it. But here, even though in your antakarana there is the presence of Atma as the content, the swarupa of every thought, there is not even a whiff of samsaritva for the kshetrajna Atma. Therefore, it is possible to establish that the kshetrajna is Ishvara. Coming back to the example of seeing the sthanu as the Purusha, extending his answer to the objection that seeing a man in a stump is not a proper example for superimposition upon the self, Shankara says that the objection is not valid because whenever you use an illustration, you must know the commonality of the properties, sadharmya, in what one intends to convey, the vivakshita. If I say a bison is like a water buffalo, so that you can recognize a bison if you come across one, I am drawing your attention to those features of a water buffalo that are similar to a bison. I do not expect you to look for something that is identical to a water buffalo. Then we would have two names for the same thing. Any illustration Drishtanta only resembles the thing it is illustrating, Drishtanta in part. We have to find out what the commonality sadharmya is. When I say the man, Purusha is... Swamiji, that will please explain that thing.
Yeah, see, any illustration Drishtanta only resembles the thing it is illustrating, Darshtanta in part. We have to find out what the commonality sadharmya is. What does it mean is, see, we don't get to understand or assimilate, we don't get the truth from the Drishtanta. From an example, we don't get the truth. The truth is told by the Shastra. Okay? But in order to make you understand more easily, it gives you an example. So, a person who has seen the, a bison, For him it is very clear. He has got the pramana. He has seen the bison. He knows in his mind what is bison, very clear. Now the other person does not know. He has not gone to the forest. So he won't know a bison. So for him, but he has seen water buffalo. Okay. So since he has seen water buffalo, he will tell him it is like water buffalo. The bison looks like a water buffalo. But it doesn't establish the bison to the other person. It only tells him the features, particular features, like it will be black, it will be big, it is more like a mammal, it will have two horns, like that. That much you will understand. So when he goes into the forest, when he sees a bison, he will be able to, oh, this is something like water buffalo that boy told me. It is like that. Okay. So, but he knows, now he knows very well that bison is not water buffalo, but has got features of bison which is resembling water buffalo. So that is the difference between the drishtanta and dashtanta. Drishtanta is an example, dashtanta is the reality. It need not 100% match. If it matches 100%, then bison is also water buffalo and water buffalo is also bison. No. So only example should not be stretched beyond a point. It should be used only to have a certain understanding which you will be able to. Now in this particular case of stump and man, the stump and the man, there are resemblance, that's all. It doesn't mean 100% match is there. Okay, that's what Shankara is trying to tell him. You should not try to stretch. He is trying to tell, how can you say Atma and my body, I take my body as Atma, that can be illustrated by the example of stump and man. No, it cannot be done, he says, because Atma is totally, lot of resemblance is there between Atma and me compared to stump and man. That's what he's trying to say. He says, it resembles, from a distance when you say it looks like a man. That's all I am trying to tell. So, but the fact is that example is used for what? Adhyasa. In the sense, by your mistake is pointed out. In the same way, just as you mistake a stump which is there at a distance, you look at him as a man and as a robber because you have got fear inside. Because of the fear inside, you are looking at the stump of a man as a man and you are afraid. In the same way, in your body, there is dukkam and all that. Ailment is there, you are getting illness. If you are here, you are not there. If you have this car, you don't have that car. All those limitations are there. So immediately you feel, I am also Atma. Since Atma is the same thing, so Atma also is limited. Like you take the stump of a tree as a man, here you are taking Atma has to be limited like a body. That is the example. So that is how you have to look at Drishtanta and Darshtanta. Not right. Yeah. That is how it is.
Any illustration, Drishtanta, only resembles the thing it is illustrating, Dashtranta, in part. We have to find out what the commonality, Sadharmya, is. When I say the man Purusha is superimposed upon the stump, exactly like how the properties of the Kshetra are superimposed upon the Kshetrajna, we have to determine what is the common feature in both that causes the error. Any illustration is used only in a given sense. If there were absolute commonality, it would no longer be an illustration but an establishing of identity. From the illustration, we extrapolate a conclusion to what is being illustrated. A stump of a tree is mistaken for a man due to ignorance and consequent superimposition. One fails to see what is there and thus sees it as something else. Here too, there is non-recognition of the Swarupa of Atma being identical with Ishvara. Then all the attributes of the body, mind, senses are superimposed upon Atma. What he intends to convey by the example is that the superimposition is caused by ignorance, and in that respect there is no contradiction between the illustration and what is illustrated. If you consider that there is a contradiction with reference to the knower, in that there is no sadharmya between a superimposition on the knower, Atma, and a known thing like a stump of a tree, he recalls his previous argument. There is no difference between superimposing properties of the body like old age and so on, and superimposing attributes of the mind like sukha and dukkha on the self, because both are instances of superimposition due to ignorance. As mentioned earlier, Shankara shows in his Adhyasa Bhashya, footnote, the introductory portion of the Bhashya to the Brahma Sutras by Shankara, that there is no rule that a superimposition be confined only to what is in front of you. All that is required is that it be evident and that there be ignorance. Atma is
Yeah,
self-evident.
here also there is a major, they will say, you can see a stump of a tree and superimpose, you will take it as man. Okay, you can look at a rope and take it as snake. But there is something you see. Okay, without seeing, suppose in the dark you don't see anything, you will neither see snake nor rope. You just keep going. You see a snake on rope because you are able to see something curved. Because some hazy light is there, your eyes are able to see something. And it looks like a rope also, it looks like a snake also, you want to be cautious. So you take the snake, you don't want to take it for granted. Okay? Here, he says, Atma is not objectifiable. Yourself, Shastra itself says, Atma is not, you are not objectifiable. Then how can I mistake it? To add something else. That is what Shastra also says. Purovastu is not necessary, even though in the case of rope and snake and stump and tree and all that, and man and all, there is something. But here, there is, every one of us know that I am. Even though it is not objectified, I don't know what I am. I am not objectified it. Shastra also says, I also know very well, but I know I am. That itself is enough to take it as a mystery. If I don't know it correctly, I will take it wrongly. As simple as that. Anything and everything, if I don't know correctly, I will take it as wrongly. Because I cannot live in a vacuum. I have to take myself something or other. So that is precisely the problem. Why you are mistaking is because you know, you are evident, you are self-evident, but you don't know exactly what you are. So you make a mistake. So there is enough reason for one to make a mistake. Adhyasa meaning atasmin tad buddhi, atasmin tad buddhi, meaning taking this to be that or that to be this. Either way it is a superimposition. So that is precisely what Kshetra is taken to be Kshetrajna. That is the topic. Kshetrajna, the one who resides in the Kshetra, Kshetrajna is Atma Ishvara, is taken to be the Kshetra, which is the body, mind, senses, complex, all the samsaritvam along with it. That is a superimposition. Because you don't know exactly the reality of Atma. That is precisely what he is trying to say. Yeah.
As mentioned earlier, Shankara shows in his Adhyasa Bhashya that there is no rule that a superimposition be confined only to what is in front of you. All that is required is that it be evident and that there be ignorance. Atma is self-evident. Nothing is required to know that I exist. And if I do not know my identity with Ishvara, all the requirements for superimposition are fulfilled. So, this conclusion that superimposition can occur only upon objects while the subject and object cannot be mistaken for one another has to be re-examined. The Shastra says that samsara is superimposed upon Atma due to ignorance. Now, to whom does this ignorance belong? From our analysis so far, it belongs to Atma.
One more thing. See, here it says, Shastra says, samsara is superimposed upon Atma due to ignorance. Okay. There again, the samsara meaning what? Samsara meaning something which keeps changing. It's called samsara. Oh, we are not superimposing samsara upon Atma. We are superimposing samsaritvam. What it gives, because of the changing reality, sukham, dukkam, I have and I don't have, poor, rich, all those objects continuously keep changing. That is what is problem for us. Not samsara per se. The samsaritvam, the changing nature of samsara, you are not able to accept because your reality is what? Changeless. But as of now, you don't know. That is a different thing. But your reality being changeless, no vastu can accept what is not its reality. Like even the electron always tries to go back to its original state. Till the time it is excited. We know in science also. Anything that it is in its own home state, like even all of us, when we come home, we are happy. When we are out, irrespective of the enjoyment and all that, we are always slightly worried. Only when you get home, after a lot of travel, lot of picnic and all that, only comes home, Abba. That's called being at home. So even Shastra tells being at home is yourself. That is why vidudalekku ugandadu veedu. Home, being at home. We also use in English, I want to be at home with myself. Are you at home with yourself? Yes.
Yes.
That means what? You can only stay happy only with your reality. Your reality is changeless. Till the time I understand, so don't try to postpone it. No, it's okay. I will do it after retirement. Doesn't work. It will be always nagging you. So that is why, that is the precise reason why, because since it is your reality and you are superimposing something else, you have to get rid of that superimposition. That dhyasa, that vidya has to go by the exposure to Shastra, whatever, by inquiry. Don't understand. That's what he says. Yeah.
Shastra says that samsara is superimposed upon Atma due to ignorance. Now, to whom does this ignorance belong? From our analysis so far, it belongs to Atma. But once you accept ignorance, avidya, for Atma, Atma has the status of being a samsari. Ignorance itself is not samsara, but is the cause for samsara. So, samsara is the effect. Since the cause, ignorance, cannot be in the effect samsara, the only remaining locus for ignorance is Atma. If Atma becomes the locus for ignorance, then its product samsaritva also exists in Atma. Not only does ignorance have its basis in Atma, the whole creation is based in Atma, including the mind, antakarana. Ignorance, Shankara says, is a condition of the mind in which tamas prevails. Tamas has a capacity to cover. It accounts for agrahana, the non-perception of an object, and it creates samshaya, a doubt about what the object is, and it makes you perceive it as other than what it is, viparita grahana. Before the stump is perceived, there is no knowledge of it. On perceiving it, a doubt arises about whether it is a stump or a man, which resolves into an erroneous conclusion that it is a man. All this is due to ignorance. Similarly, there is a doubt whether Atma is Brahman. If you say it is not, then there is agrahana. But when there is a discriminative knowledge, there is no ignorance. They are mutually exclusive, like light and darkness. This discriminative knowledge occurs only in the antakarana as a vritti born of valid means of knowledge, pramana. It destroys ignorance, avidya. Shankara gives an example using the eyes.
Hello. 1 minute. See, the word agrahana means you have understood, no? Agrahana
Not grasping.
They are not thinking what is real. They are not taking real as real, something different. That is what agrahana is equal to ignorance. Yeah.
It destroys ignorance, avidya. Shankara gives an example using the eyes that are capable of sight, erroneous sight, and no sight. If the sight is totally impaired by a cataract, the moon will not be visible. If it is partially impaired, one moon will appear as two. If the cataract is removed, there will be accurate perception of the moon, provided there is no other defect in the eye. Similarly, the antakarana has a cataract like ignorance in the form of this tamasya pratyaya. Both the eyes and the mind are instruments of knowing. If there is a covering. Tamasa pratyaya. Okay, tamasa pratyaya. Both the eyes and the mind are instruments of knowing. If there is a covering factor in the mind, Atma is not recognized. Being self-evident, one knows I am, that is, I exist. This fact is known without any means of knowledge, and this fact cannot be covered by ignorance. But if Atma is not known as Brahman, then the mistake of taking it as the body-mind-sense complex is unavoidable. Positively speaking, when there is a discriminative knowledge, there is no ignorance. On the other hand, if there is no discriminative knowledge, the ignorance will be there as the one that covers the self-evident Atma, Swaprakasha Atma. This defect of being susceptible to the Avarana Shakti of Avidya belongs to the Antakarana, the instrument. Ignorance and its defects belong to the instrument, Antakarana. This being the case, the opponent now argues that ignorance is a property of the knower, Kshetrajna, and therefore he is a samsari. He cannot be equated to Ishvara, who is not a samsari. Shankara refutes this by saying that the defect of having a cataract is recognized only in the instrument eye. Only the means of knowledge for sight has the defect born of cataract, not the knower. To correct the defect, surgery is done upon the eye and not on the knower. The defect of not seeing or seeing defectively is in the eyes, not in the Atma and Atma, the perceiver. Even though the perceiver is involved in the misperception, it is not directly the property of the perceiver. When the defect is removed by some treatment to the eye, there is no longer any misperception. Thus, the problem is only in the instrument, not the knower. This being so in all places, non-perception, misperception and doubt is caused by the instrument. Further, these defects of agrahana, non-perception, viparita grahana, misperception and samshaya, doubt, do not belong to the knower because they are objects of knowledge. When, to the question, do you know that Atma is Brahman? You respond, I do not know. The ignorance of this fact is known to you. Sukha and Dukkha, being a doer and an enjoyer, and various doubts about yourself are also known to you, because of which you consider yourself to be a samsari. They are objects of knowledge like the light of a lamp. Shankara gives this example rather than that of a pot because light is an instrument that illumines objects just as the sense organs and the antakarana do. Just as the light which illumines a pot is also known, so is the eye that illumines a form or the ear that makes one know a sound. They are instruments which are capable of lighting up an object, and yet they do not become attributes of the knower, Jnata, because they are known to him. Even though the mind and sense organs are means of knowledge that make one know various objects, they are also lighted up. Therefore, they do not have the status of being an attribute of the knower. Anything other than Atma has the status of being an object simply because it is known. No other reason is required. Something is identified as an object because it is objectified by me and therefore other than me, Anatma, that covers everything including ignorance. Since they all have the status of being objects of knowledge, they do not belong to the knower.
So we will stop here.
Okay. So the thing is that no, it's all I don't know. It's all so very. You have. It's all very simple.
No, it's very quite tough. Simple. It is quite tough.
It is not quite tough. No, unless we.
If we are honest with ourselves, I am telling you this honestly. If we are honest with ourselves, we can easily own it up. Because we have been used to not owning up this reality that since I am the being, know what is happening. My intellectual property, my mind property, my family property, everything is other than me. That somehow we are not willing to digest. Because if they are not me, nothing to add value to me, what am I doing all this for? Whole life I have been striving for all these things. And I call it excellence. And how do I, by this understanding, how do I disidentify myself with all that as just property? This is just an attribute, that's all. Changing attribute. Attribute being ordinary, keep changing. But I, Totally, the reality, the ontological reality of I is totally different from all these things. Like even the dream. Like even the dream reality is totally different from the waking. Once you waken up, even the bungalow you owned in the dream is no more valuable to you. All which you are able to accept in the same way, this waking reality also is only a dream just of now. The whole thing is nothing but a long dream. And you must be able to cognitively and from the heart you have to accept. Then Prabodha Samaya, that is a real waking up. Some used to say the second firing, life has to happen. All we say no, the Dvija and all that. Upanayanam. First time you do the first threading, it is Dvija, it's a different person. Same way you have to become a different person with this understanding. The sense, you have to own it up. You don't have to do anything. You have to see cognitively your life is reality. And then go about. Live your life very objective. The real objectivity in life starts with that. Otherwise, it's all colored. As I always tell, the colorless bottle only can give the true color of the liquid inside. Even if it has a slight shade, then it will get colored. Likewise, unless we are colorless, meaning we are there, Sakala, Aparichita, we with the frame that reality, then only our perception of the world and conception of the world, of people, everything will be objective. Otherwise, the objectivity is a colored color classic. So it is very important, and it is inevitable, and it cannot, as a human being, cannot be without this understanding. That is how. Anyway, we'll keep praying for it, and I think it's all possible. Yeah. Om
पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ओम् श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ओम्